He said it in front of everyone. The whole room froze except her. She kept her manicured hands clasped like she was praying for my downfall. You're an unqualified idiot. It wasn't loud. That's what made it worse. Alyssa didn't need volume. She weaponized calm the way some people weaponize knives, silent, precise, and just deep enough to hit something vital. She said it with the same tone you'd used to ask for oat milk in your coffee. HR was on the Zoom call, was my entire project team. Nobody spoke. Nobody blinked. The only sound was someone awkwardly clearing their throat, followed by the muffled tap of someone turning off their camera. I didn't flinch. I smiled. I nodded. I wrote it down. That was day 34. Let me rewind. Day 1, she introduced herself by letting me know she doesn't believe in onboarding. Said it builds dependence. Told me if I couldn't figure things out by osmosis, maybe corporate life wasn't for me. She wore stilettos in a cubicle office and quoted Joe Rogan unironically. I should have run. Day 7, she joked that I looked like someone who peaked in high school. Day 12, she told me my voice was grating and suggested I try being softer if I wanted to get promoted. Day 18, she asked if I was one of those girls who cries in their car after meetings. I was, but not for the reason she thought. Every insult, every sideways glance, every Slack message that said. When I didn't reply within 3 minutes, it all went in the file. I had folders within folders. Timeline spreadsheets, voice memos, security footage timestamps. I knew her tells. When she lied, she touched her necklace. When she was about to unload on me, she smiled too wide. It was like watching a bomb grin. But the real shift happened on day 25. Sent me an Uber Eats code to cheer me up after a rough meeting where she blamed me for a budgeting error she made. I didn't think much of it until I opened the receipt. 1 Greek salad, 3 sides of pickles, no dressing, and under special instructions she wrote, extra pickles. No remorse. Who the hell writes that on a salad? It was either a power move or a cry for help. I screenshotted it anyway. That same night, I found something else. Her old Instagram, buried under a maiden name and a cascade of filters that looked like Lisa Frank got bored in Photoshop. A photo from 2 years ago. She's on a boat with the CFO. His hand is on her leg. Her caption, sometimes the best promotions start in the middle of the ocean. Hashtag, #no HR out here, and just like that, the stakes changed. I wasn't dealing with just a petty bully. I was dealing with someone who didn't think the rules applied to her. The way her face looked when she walked into HR and saw my file open on the desk. Well, let's just say we were finally playing my game now. Day 35 started like any other slow burn horror film. Fluorescents buzzing, coffee machine spitting out burnt regret. Alyssa already in the office, sitting at my desk, not hers. Mine. Don't worry, she said, not looking up from her phone. I just needed better lighting for my Zoom. Yours faces east. Wasn't the reason, I knew it. She wanted to mark territory. Alpha dog the room. Remind me she could replace me physically, professionally, and psychologically any damn time she pleased. But I didn't react. I just walked to her desk and sat down. It smelled like vanilla vape and wasted potential. The rest of the day she ignored me. On purpose. Passive-aggressive silence is Alyssa's way of laying landmines. The moment you think it's safe, boom, accuses you of withholding information or deliberately sabotaging the team by not looping her in. And sure enough, 4:12 p.m., boom. She storms into the common area mid-call, slams a folder on the counter and says, loud enough for Brenda in finance to hear, because that woman has bionic gossip ears, did you choose to leave me off that thread, or are you just incapable of basic logic? Everyone stops pretending to work. My hands don't shake. Been waiting for this exact cue. This is where her downfall accelerates, because I've already emailed that thread to myself, CCing HR, timestamped. She was never on the original email. She deleted it herself from the shared drive 2 days ago. I have screen recordings, but I don't argue. I just tilt my head and say, that's odd. I can resend it if you'd like. She stares. Stare people give when they feel control slipping, but can't quite figure out what they're holding wrong. Day 36, she goes for blood. She pulls me into a meeting room with frosted glass and whispers like the CIA's watching. I don't think you're emotionally stable for this environment. I've noticed crying, mood swings, disengagement. You might want to talk to someone. That's what we call laying the groundwork. She wants me to crack, to get defensive, say something she can twist into hostile behavior for HR. But she's 3 moves behind, because I've already talked to someone. I've talked to the junior dev she called cute, but useless in front of his peers, the admin assistant she made cry because she breathed too loud, the IT guy she called autistic when he fixed her laptop and didn't smile enough, and the intern. Oh God, the intern, who quit without even picking up his final paycheck. All of them sent me statements. Dates, screenshots, they're not just witnesses. They're part of the foundation I've been building under her stilettos. But the most satisfying brick came on day 37. Alyssa had a standing Thursday touch base with the VP. Normally, she'd use it to snitch on anyone who looked at her the wrong way. But this time, she didn't show up. Because someone, can't imagine who, emailed the VP anonymously a lovely audio compilation titled Alyssa's Coaching Moments, Vol. 1. It contained 5 separate clips of her calling me an idiot, suggesting the CFO likes dumb and that HR only cares when someone sues. The VP didn't respond to the email, but he did call HR, and HR requested a meeting with me. Alyssa didn't know that yet, but she would, very, very soon. Day 38. She came in late, first time in weeks. No makeup, just oversized sunglasses and that twitchy jaw clench she does when she's scrambling to read the room before the room reads her. She walked right past me without a word. That's how I knew. Something had cracked. Somewhere between the audio files and the email receipts, the illusion of her invincibility had taken a hit. But she wasn't unraveling yet. No, Alyssa's the type to go full psycho Barbie before surrendering. And right on cue, at 11:17 a.m., she requested a quick sync on the calendar. No title, no agenda, just 2 words, quick, sync. I walked into conference room B. She was already there standing, arms crossed like she was about to interrogate a terrorist suspect, not the marketing analyst she'd been slowly trying to erase from the org chart. You're sabotaging me, she said flatly. No hello, I'm sorry, don't play dumb. Think I don't notice your little, quiet rebellion? Your Slack history is clean, your desk is pristine, you've been CCing HR on everything. You're trying to set me up, I blinked. You think I'm weaponizing professionalism? She slammed her hand on the table. Don't gaslight me. Projection's a hell of a drug. She stepped closer, lowering her voice like she thought the walls weren't listening. I don't care what you think you're doing. This company knows who brings value. Built this team? No one's questioning that, I said, voice even calm, like I hadn't already submitted my final HR document. A fully indexed, time-stamped 42-page PDF titled Behavioral Patterns of Manager A. Monroe. Oh, honey, she sneered. You're cute when you pretend to matter. Then she left, just like that, walked out like she'd scored a touchdown. But here's the part she didn't know. While she was busy trying to crack me in private, Char had quietly moved my file, not to the usual employee conduct folder. No, they printed it, put it in a manila envelope, and left it on their desk, right in the line of sight of anyone walking into the HR office. I didn't ask for that. They wanted her to see it. And she did, on day 39. Alyssa strutted into HR like she owned the building. I watched from the other side of the glass wall, pretending to refill my mug. She walked in mid-rant, gesturing, hair swishing, mouth moving at 200 RPM. And then she stopped. Cold, eyes dropped, jaw twitched. Right there on the desk, my file. Open, thick, color-coded tabs, photos, transcripts, her Slack handle in bold font, her name in quotes. She reached for it like it was a bomb she thought she could defuse. Then she read the tab sticking out, pattern 3. Verbal hostility in group settings. Her face went pale. The VP stepped into the room, closed the door behind him, and I sipped my coffee like it was champagne. Day 40, the office felt off, too quiet, like someone had vacuumed the tension out of the carpet and pumped in fake calm. Alyssa didn't show up. No 7 o'clock a.m. calendar changes. No can we hop on a quick call, pings at 11:58 p.m. Just silence, which from her was louder than anything. People noticed. Brenda from finance whispered in the break room, did she quit? Devin from legal just muttered, something's coming. I can feel it, and me? I kept working, smiling, forwarding those final polished project notes to HR, tying up every loose end like I knew they'd be reviewed by legal. Because they would. Because Alyssa was still fighting. She sent one final email that night, BCC'd everyone I ever worked with on the team. The subject line, let's be honest about performance. 4 paragraphs of corporate poison. Didn't mention my name directly. She was smarter than that. But she alluded. Oh, did she allude? Some people lack initiative. Some analysts can't keep up with leadership demands. Not everyone is cut out for high-performance environments. It was a slow bleed of venom disguised as a reflection. But here's the thing. She forgot who she was playing with. At 9:14 p.m., 34 minutes after her email went out, a reply-all chain began. The first was small, just a former intern. I once watched you call someone a PMS baby for missing a deadline after a miscarriage. Maybe reflect on that. Then came Daniel from IT. Alyssa, didn't you get drunk at last year's holiday party and tell Sarah she had childbearing hips built for mediocrity? No performance issues here. Just memory loss. Then they piled in. By midnight, 15 separate responses had stacked, each one dragging a skeleton out of her walk-in closet. HR director herself stepped in at 12:27 a.m. to say, "Thank you, everyone, for your transparency. We take workplace culture seriously and are reviewing all reports. In the meantime, please refrain from public discourse. My office is open tomorrow for in-person discussions." Translation: they were preparing the acts, day 41. I was called into HR again. But this time, it wasn't just a meeting. It was a review board. VP, HR lead, a compliance officer I'd never met before but who had a folder with Alyssa's name printed in caps on the front. I didn't even need to bring my evidence. They already had it. HR lead looked up at me and said, "We want you to walk us through what happened on day 12. So I did. Then day 18. Then day 25. They took notes. They asked follow-ups. They cross-checked timestamps. When I mentioned the Uber Eats receipt, the compliance officer laughed. Like real, actual laughter. And then she said, "That aligns with her previous behavior." Previous? That was the word that stopped me. Wait, has she done this before? They didn't answer directly. But the VP folded his hands and said, "Let's just say you're not her first idiot. You're just the first one who built a case like a damn lawyer." I walked out of that room not just validated, I walked out dangerous. Because I knew she didn't know what I knew. By day 42, she'd learned just how much I'd taken from her. Day 42, she was back, waltzed into the office like nothing had happened. Full war paint, heels, lashes, blazer so stiff it could have stood on its own. She didn't look at anyone, didn't have to. That silence, the one she used to command like a symphony of fear, it was gone. People saw through it now, saw through her. She walked in expecting a standing ovation and got head nods so weak they looked like early Parkinson's. And then she saw me. I was at my desk, sipping tea like I hadn't spent the last 6 weeks documenting every psychological paper cut she ever gave me. She froze, eyes narrowed, that predator stare, the one that used to make interns cry. But something was different this time. She looked confused, like the lion finally realized the gazelle had grown fangs. I didn't say a word, just smiled. Click send on one last document. It wasn't to HR, it was to the board. A little gem called operational instability due to managerial misconduct, a report that tied her abuse not just to people, but to numbers. Lost productivity, team turnover, delayed deadlines. Anonymous quotes from 2 contractors who refused to renew until that woman is gone. And graphs. Oh God, the graphs. Everyone listens when you bring data. Especially in an org where PowerPoint has more power than prayer. 5 minutes later, her Outlook pinged. I watched her open it, watched her face morph, calm to puzzled to panic. She stood up, turned toward HR like she was about to demand a meeting, and that's when he entered the building. Greg Thomas, Director of Corporate Compliance. Wears the same tan trench coat year-round like a cartoon detective. He never visits our floor. Until today, he didn't even stop at reception. Just walked straight to her desk and said, with the calm of a man who had already seen the security footage, "Miss Monroe, please bring your laptop and follow me." Her lips parted. Nothing came out. People looked up. The room watched. Not a single monitor flickered. Not a single email got typed. "Now," Greg added when she didn't move, she stood, slow, mechanical. Took her laptop like it weighed 100 pounds. Walked behind him, disappeared into the elevator. The door closed with a silence that sounded like judgment. 2 hours later, an IT guy with a sticky note beard showed up at her desk. Started boxing things up. He didn't say much, just asked if we'd seen her personal mouse. Someone pointed to her drawer. He nodded. Tossed it in the box with a lava lamp, 3 expired Luna bars, and a mug that said, "I make the rules." It felt sacred, like watching an exorcism in real time. By 4:30 p.m., a new calendar invite went out. Team meeting mandatory. Hosted by HR. Subject line, reset and renewal. But the best part, the final Slack message she ever sent, we all saw it. It pinged right before IT disabled her account. "To those who supported me, thank you. To those who betrayed me, I know who you are." No punctuation. Just rage. She wanted it to land like a threat, read like a eulogy. Day 43. We all expected HR to come in with donuts and damage control, maybe one of those fake team-building exercises where you write affirmations on sticky notes and pretend Karen from accounting didn't just publicly torch her keyboard last month. But no. HR walked in like they'd been waiting for this moment. Like they'd been held hostage by Alyssa for years, and the hostage negotiator had finally arrived. First to speak was Angela, head of People Ops, in her usual cardigan, and "I just ran a marathon, but for policy changes energy. We understand there's been a culture of intimidation," she began, locking eyes with no one but meaning everyone. "Effective immediately, we're restructuring management protocols. Anonymous reporting will now be real-time. And no one is above accountability. Someone actually clapped. Like, single, slow clap. It was Devin from legal. Brave man. Angela continued, but I barely heard it. My phone buzzed. New email from Greg Thomas. Subject, follow-up, private. I clicked it open. Read it once, then again. He wanted me to meet him, not at HR, not even on company property, but off-site, neutral ground. A coffee shop on 8th and Pine, 7 p.m. sharp. Said he had one final request. That night, I walked in to find him already sitting there, French coat still on, black coffee untouched. He slid a folder across the table. I'm not supposed to show you this, he said, voice low, like we were trading state secrets instead of post-burnout paperwork. But you deserve to see the full picture. Inside, Alyssa's file, not mine, hers. Pages of prior incidents, 6 internal complaints, 3 exit interviews mentioning her by name, 2 probationary notes, a formal warning from 18 months ago where she was told any further misconduct would trigger termination proceedings. But somehow she'd survived it all. Until Operation Peach Pit, and tucked in the back, a letter, written by Alyssa, addressed to the board, dated yesterday. A pathetic attempt at framing me for a coordinated defamation campaign. She used phrases like targeted harassment, emotional manipulation, and my personal favorite, weaponized femininity, like she was pitching a Lifetime movie where she was the victim. Greg raised an eyebrow. Sound familiar? She tried to pre-accuse me, I said. She knew the noose was tightening, he replied. Tried to flip the narrative before the hammer fell. He leaned forward. We're pursuing legal steps now. You'll be contacted as a formal witness. I stared down at the folder. All that power she had, and in the end, it came down to a paper trail and her own damn ego. Ever try this on anyone above her? I asked. Greg cracked the smallest smile. Let's just say you're not the first she tried to climb over. And she forgot that ladders go both ways. I left the coffee shop that night with my head high and my name cleared in ink, not whispers. But it wasn't over yet. Because on day 44, Alyssa came back. Not through the front door, through legal. Day 44. The sun hadn't even cleared the skyline when legal dropped the bomb. Box pinged at 6:12 a.m. Subject line, notice of retaliatory allegations, immediate attention required. Sender, external counsel. Alyssa had lawyered up. You ever get an email that makes your hands go numb? I sat there, toothbrush hanging out of my mouth, half-dressed, reading words like wrongful character assassination and malicious corporate sabotage. She accused me of weaponizing mental health culture, of staging incidents, colluding with HR to construct a false narrative for personal gain. She even said I had a vendetta because she gave me a poor performance review. Babe, I was the only one on the team who never got a review because she forgot to schedule it. But she didn't stop there. She named me as the reason she was forced to resign. Spoiler, she didn't resign. She was walked out like an uninvited stripper at a church funeral. Still, legal had to follow protocol. Internal investigation. Freeze on all external comms. I couldn't talk to my team, couldn't touch my inbox history. They even disabled my Slack access for neutrality. I was cut off from the very fortress I built. And yet, I wasn't scared, not anymore. Because she'd just made her final mistake, going loud in a room where everything was recorded. Day 45. They called it an adjudication panel. It was 3 people in a glass room with laptops and faces like unpaid grief counselors. I sat across from them while Greg slid a printed packet across the table. Evidence dossier. Not mine. Hers. Page 1, screenshot of her Slack message about firing slow thinkers by attrition. Page 2, audio recording of her mocking the intern's stutter during a Zoom call. Page 4, a time-stamped screen grab of the extra pickles, no remorse Uber Eats receipt. Still iconic. But then, page 12. That's where things went nuclear. It was a photograph. A printed-out Instagram story, buried deep in her private burner account. It was a photo from 3 months ago, taken inside a closed-door strategy meeting. She wasn't supposed to have her phone. She wasn't supposed to be taking pictures of whiteboards filled with client data. Caption read, when the CEO talks like he's the only man in the room, #dumb money # he stutters to the man she was mocking. The founder, it was over. Even the panelists sat back like they'd just witnessed a public execution in HD. Greg didn't even say anything. Just slowly turned to me and asked, would you like to respond to her claims? I leaned forward, tapped the file. Everything you need is in there. But for the record, standing up to a tyrant counts as character assassination. Maybe the character deserved to die. He chuckled. Even the panelist with the mustache cracked a smirk. Day 46. They cleared me completely. No further review, no marks, no pending. No HR babysitter to monitor team dynamics. Just clean, cold vindication. But Alyssa, She didn't go down quiet. She filed one last complaint to the press, some second-rate workplace gossip blog with a title like Corporate Hellscapes and Chardonnay. They published it verbatim, her unhinged manifesto about toxic empathy culture and ungrateful subordinates with TikTok mentalities. It backfired beautifully, because the comments section turned against her like a pack of caffeinated wolves. Former coworkers chimed in. So did ex-managers, even said she stole toner cartridges and resold them on Facebook Marketplace. And then, final blow. The company's LinkedIn page posted a quote that same afternoon: "The best leaders don't threaten, they listen." Underneath, a photo of me mid-laugh during last quarter's all hands. No name, no tag, just me, and everyone knew, day 47. I walked into the office with a coffee in one hand and a quiet storm in my chest. Her desk, gone. Like it had never been there. Not boxed up, not reassigned, just removed, as if the floor had decided to cleanse itself of the rot. But the real closure didn't come from the silence. It came at 3:11 p.m. My phone buzzed, unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Almost. But some part of me, the part that had smiled through meetings while being skinned alive with corporate microaggressions, needed to hear it. "Alyssa Monroe has listed you as a professional reference," at a woman's voice, clipped and suspicious. I blinked. "Excuse me, she applied for a position with our firm. You were listed as her direct report." Oh, Alyssa, she was still trying to climb, still pretending the fall never happened, like she could rewrite her legacy with a fresh coat of lipstick and a different HR contact. The silence on the line stretched. The woman was waiting, so I gave her what she wanted. "Alyssa is memorable. She has a very distinct approach to leadership." Pause, in what way? "She believes in motivation through intimidation, builds morale by removing it, delegates accountability and hoards credit. But she's very consistent." The woman coughed. I could hear her typing. "Would you rehire her?" I laughed, quiet, honest, sharp. "Only if I'm running a revenge-themed escape room." She chuckled, noted, click, day 50. I got a promotion, director of analytics. They didn't announce it with champagne or speeches, just a quiet update to the org chart, my new title in black font where hers used to be. I kept my same desk, same chair, same mug with the chipped rim, because I didn't need to take her throne. I survived it. And when people pass my desk now, they nod with something different in their eyes. Not pity, not awkward solidarity, respect. Alyssa, last I heard, she was selling leadership webinars on LinkedIn. $10 a seat, 0 attendees. But me, I go home on time. I sleep like a stone. And sometimes, when I'm sipping tea at midnight, I whisper those 3 little words that start it all: "You're an idiot." No, Alyssa. I'm the idiot who took notes.